Okay, important areas to learn about if we're talking about a client. The thing that we need that I need to relay to you is that, what was I gonna say? I can't remember what I was gonna say. Wait a second. It's my birthday next week. I'll be 100 years old.
What?
Okay, I'll be 70 years old, but it feels like 100. This is an art form. Being able to listen to people and to help them is an art form. You can learn it. You can learn to be able to do this. I've talked about being an extrovert or an introvert. You just have to have the ability to listen to people. Some individuals who are extroverts have narcissistic personality disorder. I'm not talking about the president. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. They think that the universe rotates around them. And if you have that problem, then you can't do this job. This is just the way it works. You've got to want to be able, you've got to want to help people. You've got to respect everybody in order to be able to do this job, okay? It's the only thing that you have to do. I've seen really bad counselors who've been counseling for a really, really long time, who didn't do jack squat. The VA has this problem. They get people stuck in there that really don't do a very good job. They challenge their clients all the time, and that's a problem. That can be a potential problem, especially in the VA. Scott and I were just talking about this earlier, about they get all these vets at the VA, and then somebody with PTSD calls up and it sparks this other guy's PTSD, and we got a screaming match going on over the telephone between two people with PTSD. My PTSD is worse than yours. Anyway, so you gotta want to help people. Problems or challenges are important to explore. We need to explore their history. Where does it come from? A lot of times it comes from their youth. Sometimes it comes from their first marriage, or their second marriage, or their 10th marriage, whatever. Sometimes it comes from when they had children. But we need to know the history. You need to get as much history as you possibly can. The more of their story that you can get, the more likely that you'll be able to identify what their problem is. Now, the reality is that they're not going to want to talk about this. I'm reading a book right now that is about incest. Oh my God. But it's not really about incest because the older daughter was adopted. And she seduces her younger brother, who's not really her brother at all, as far as that goes. As far as her family goes, she's the sister and he's the brother, and she seduces him. And but it's not really incest, is it? I mean, not actually, because they're not really related to one another. He's got a different mother than she does. He's got a different father than she does.
Or do you draw the line with family?
Well, yeah, exactly, exactly, and so that's what the argument is, and the reason that she seduces him is because she's mad. She's just found out that she's adopted, or she's actually this guy was married to his mother. The mother was already pregnant when he married her, and of course she gave birth, and he was her father. She thought he was her father all this time. Then she found out he wasn't. And she found out that she wasn't related to Nolan, and and in order to punish the man who was not her father, she had sex with his son as punishment. I know. Okay.
Is Jerry Springer?
Anyway, okay.
Sing this episode.
So we need to know their history. Okay. The length or duration of their problem, how long has this been going on? Most people will, when you first ask them, they'll say, well, a couple of months. No, it's 6 months. If we get their story, if we get their history, we can find out, no, it's been going on a lot longer than this. You didn't identify it until 2 months ago, but you've actually had this problem for an extended length of time. Current changes, things that have changed for this individual, previously employed attempts at a solution. What have you done trying to fix it? You use CBD oil because everybody swears by CBD oil all of a sudden. You got drunk, did that help? How did you try to fix this before? So, and maybe you took some medication, some actual medication that, your next door neighbor didn't hear you. So what have you done to try to solve your problem? The severity and the frequency of a problem. Most people will not talk about how severe this is. Some people will blow it out of proportion. Oh my God, I can't live another day with this depression. I'm going to kill myself. Really? Is it that bad? And the answer is probably no. If they're crying about it, then remember, if they're crying and they say that they're depressed, they're not really depressed, they're sad. Because if you're depressed, you're almost dead-faced. You can't cry. It's impossible. So, okay.
Only got a ways to go.
But you don't tell them like, oh, you're not depressed.
You're not depressed, what's wrong? What the hell's wrong with you? Stop it. You're just sad. That's a tickety thing. Let's not do that. That sounds like the VA. Using scaling questions can be valuable. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate what your problem is or rate this aspect of your problem. What aspects of the client's life are affected by the problem? Is this affecting your home life? Is this affecting your job? Is this affecting your interaction with your friends? Have you stopped playing softball? You used to play 3 games a day and now all of a sudden you have a hard time going to softball games or whatever. The situation and environment also are also important and can sometimes give a more complete perspective on the problem. So you need to know when this happens, what the environment is. These are pieces of information that you need to help your client. And a lot of times they'll lie to you. They don't want to give you this information. They will tell you their story, and it will take them all of 15 minutes. So you need to dig deeper, the best that you possibly can. You need to get them to talk some more. And this is when you don't say anything, and you allow them to talk. You don't have all the answers, and potentially with only 15 minutes of the problem, you don't have any answers whatsoever. A nurturing and sustaining environment can support a client through many stressors. What life stressors has the client experienced? The number of children and other people in the house, that's a good piece of information to get. How bad is their job? I was just upstairs talking to Dr. Garrity. She didn't realize I was teaching. I just need to teach 3 more hours and I fulfilled my contract. You know what that means, don't you? I don't have to come back next semester, but I am anyway. Don't worry, Earlson talked me into it. I'm coming back. He said I can't quit until he graduates. So when is that going to be? When can I quit?
May 2021.
Okay, May.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 semesters.
Is that right? So, I can't quit until then. Maybe we'll get better instructors. You never know. It could happen.
Dr. Lermont's
I mean, they're
been
out there
abandoning
somewhere.
a Band-Aid solution. He's not finding anybody else.
Better. Because I can't be here forever. My wife will kill me. She may kill me when I go home, so I hope to see you next week. She has a meeting on my birthday, so I'm not exactly sure if I'll see her on Saturday. I'm going home to help her harvest the apples. I don't know if I'll see her at all. That's I hope she picks me up. Jobs and demands deaths. I know you guys don't like to talk about death, but the reality is that everybody reacts to death. Everybody does. No matter what ethnic group you belong to, no matter what religion you are, everybody reacts to death. And people need to they need to grieve. And everybody does it a different way. My family, I think I told you what my family does. We laugh about it. And that's how we deal with it. That's how we grieve.
What if you don't feel anything about it?
Well, that's.
Like, I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And we have been conditioned not to react to it. Isn't that what you gotta keep going, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, working in the morgue, I got the
I mean,
same.
you're gonna have family members say, okay.
Well, you don't get to see their family members crying over there.
No, my family members, when they die, it's just,
What, you didn't feel anything?
nah, not really.
Okay. You're okay today, you're not
Yeah.
suffering from it.
No, it's
Just
crazy.
handle it. So everybody handles it differently. Obviously, Scott handles it one way, and I handle it another way. Yes, sir, you were going to say.
It's just kind of a question about like what Scott was talking about, like, I know when I was in Iraq, we had a real morbid sense of humor. We would laugh about, I don't wanna say, but
Sure
we
you.
laugh about inappropriate, things that would be,
Exactly.
other people
Of
would
course.
think inappropriate humor.
Yes, of course.
And I came back like that, and,
Oh my God, your dad must have.
it's just kind of like, I ruffled a lot of feathers when I first
Sure,
started
of
out.
course.
And, but I wondered, like, well, I think it was a coping mechanism for a lot of veterans in
Sure.
battle, when they- around death every day. See
Right.
dead bodies and whatnot, so you just kind of learn to deal with it in a different manner, but then, so it doesn't shock you when you come upon a body
Yeah.
without a head, you kind of make a joke about it.
Right.
Move on, and then, but does that, are you deflecting, or is it like, is it not hitting you, or is it just gonna hit you later?
I don't know, did it hit you later? Well, wait a minute, let's ask Scott. Did it hit you later? I'm guessing no.
No.
It all depends on who you are.
I mean, like, when, like, initially, like, the first one, yeah.
Yeah, it was a shock.
But after that, it's like,
You get used to it.
just another day in the battle, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Did it hit you later?
I have one incident that, well, somewhat,
Well,
it
I
comes
know, I've
back.
heard about that incident.
I have a couple of times where I get put back in that moment.
Sure.
It's not pretty, you know?
Right.
But for the most part, I think it doesn't bother me right now, but I have a couple times when it bugs me, when, you know, I don't know. Sometimes it creeps back in. I don't know if that's me trying to process things, or if it's on its own creeping back in, or.
Or maybe you've already processed all this information.
It kind of does to me, like, sometimes a certain smell or noise
Ah,
will bring me, but, I mean,
I know, isn't that weird?
I don't like, dwell on it, like, if I hear it loud, you know,
Right,
you know?
and that's the weird part. It's strange things like odors that drive you, that'll bring it back. It's odors. Or, I don't know, or hearing something.
I asked my dad if he had anything like that, because I noticed nothing triggers him. So I just like asked him like, does anything bother you like when it brings you back? And he goes, he doesn't like fireworks, and I didn't know that. So he's like, whenever they blow up fireworks, he goes, he'll handle it for a little bit, but after a while he'll have to cover his ears, and yeah. So I didn't know that. It's weird.
Been there, done that, yeah, I've had that same problem. So has my brother. Yeah, he can't be around fire, he just stays away from it. He hates the 4th of July.
I like the 4th of July, of course, but this past one, I went and watched it at my mom's, the first time I've watched it in like 7 years.
Yeah,
And I had to put my headphones in after a while.
yeah, yeah. Don't feel bad about that. I mean, we react to different things, and it's because of the crap that we've been through. And so don't feel bad about it, just handle it. Handle it the best way that you can. You don't have a problem, it's just that there are certain things you can't tolerate. With me, it's the smell of mutton. It's the smell of mutton.
But I can see what you're coming up.
Yeah, okay, all right. And there's nothing I can do about it.
Why?
What do you mean?
Why is it the smell of mutton?
You don't want to know.
Mine's just the head. I know what you're talking about, mine's just when they cook the head, then
Yeah.
I have to go somewhere else. Till they're done.
It's because of some of the things that we've seen and done in our lives that we have to stay away from this stuff. Okay, it's just the way it works. Yeah, and, well, we won't talk about feces. Feces is another problem.
I know.
But that has to do with mutton as well. Yes, sir.
I remember I was telling you, when I was younger, when I was up there, I was naive. And driving through MSR Tampa, we come across those burning vehicles. I never realized, you know, we got back and we were talking to the guys, and I was talking to the guys, and they mentioned it. And then I just said, wow, what about when we drove by those vehicles and it was burning? You know, and I thought it was just chemicals this whole time. And then the guys looked at me like I was stupid, you know? Yeah, those were bodies. I'm like, oh. You know, yeah, like, oh.
Well, yeah, and you never even think, well, I did,
Yeah.
of course, I had to
Yeah.
play with them. I mean, I had to recover the bodies, so.
Yeah,
And then I had to
at the
draw
time I was
blood from the
younger,
bodies and
so-
urine from the bodies. That was,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was a little bit
I-
different
yeah,
from,
yeah.
okay. You just got to go past it, play it. And when I talk about play, I mean, because all the joints will cook and, you know, they're all, okay. Okay, anyway, I had to pull all the joints apart so that we could draw some blood. Anyway, that's why, okay? All right. And there's an odor to it. It smells a lot like mud. So what we're talking about is a story. We're talking about our story. Yeah, there's 4 of us in here. Am I counting right? Yeah, there's 4 of us in here. We're talking about death and how we handled it in select circumstances. And, you know, that's just the way it works. And that's part of the story, and that's part of what you need to get to. Is that really our problem? Well, in my case, I just can't be around mutton. Okay. So when I first got here, I would walk past the cafeteria, which I keep calling it chow hall, but it ain't, it's a cafeteria. Okay, when I would walk past the cafeteria, they cooked a lot of mutton, they had mutton for like every meal. And I was getting the whim-whams every time I walked past the cafeteria. So I was walking all the way around campus to get to the post office, so I wouldn't have to walk past the cafeteria, and not understanding what was going on. And then, you know, we talked about it in the 241 class, and thank goodness Emory was in there, and we talked about some of the, and that's when I admitted I had PTSD from what happened. Okay, anyway, so we're talking about deaths. Now the reality is I've handled thousands of dead bodies because I used to work in the morgue. Most of them weren't burn cases, but of course when I was in the service, that's what was going on. So these are things that we need to understand. Some people deal with it differently. Catholics deal with it better than Lutherans. Lutherans deal with it better than Episcopalians. You know, all of this stuff has to do with death. It has to do with the way you handle things. Since I'm here and you guys are Navajo, of course, when I was up north, they have wakes and the bodies are on display for days at the gymnasium, and everybody comes and has a big party. Not that kind of a party. It's not party, dude. No, it's not that kind of a party. But they come and they talk about the person that died. That's completely different from the way you guys handle things, and that's okay. I mean, that's just the way it works. So deaths can make a huge impact or no impact whatsoever, as Scott was saying. Illnesses and or major health changes will change things when people come down with cancer. Let me tell you a quick story about my sister. The one that is no longer with us, the one that has died. She married the most perfect man in the whole wide world. She hated her brothers because there was something wrong with us. We were always making noise and we were always punching each other. You know how boys are. They're just pains in the ass, right? You have a brother?
Yeah,
Okay, is he a pain in the ass?
kinda.
Okay. So she hated the fact that we were always yelling and we were always playing ball and doing this and doing that. She just hated that. So she married the most perfect man that ever existed. He didn't do that kind of crap. He was not active. He wasn't loud. He was perfect. He was the most wonderful man that ever existed. Turned out that he was transgender. That he felt like a woman on the inside, and that's why she liked him, because he was like her. When she found out, she got really depressed. She felt really bad, and she got angry, and all kinds of horrible emotions are going through her body, and she developed a heart condition. She developed because of interacting with this problem that she had with her ex-husband. She doubted herself. She didn't understand her own sexual orientation. She was very, very confused about what was going on. Since her husband wanted to be her sister, that didn't fit. That just didn't work at all. The perfect man turned out to be the imperfect man, the imperfect woman. Now he's a woman now, so that's a little bit different. So she developed a heart condition, and then they discovered a mass. She developed cancer because of all of these problems that she had. So the bottom line is she eventually died of her cancer. So the bottom line is that illnesses and health changes can come from a lot of different places. And that's what happened with her. When she found out that the perfect man was actually wanted to be a woman on the inside, it really destroyed her. And she never actually recovered from it, as strange and stupid as that is. Anyway, okay, so these are some of the stories that we need to get from our clients to find out what's going on. She should have gone to counseling. That's what she should have done. That's what I suggested that she do. And of course, I'm her younger brother, and I'm stupid. Brothers are always stupid, right? Aren't they stupid? Yours isn't. Is he stupid? Yeah, he is. Yes, he's stupid. Anyway, so she wouldn't listen to me, and eventually she died of her cancer because she didn't deal with it. She dealt with it very poorly. She just didn't handle it very well. What life stressors has the client experienced? Current or past traumatic events in their family or in their community? Maybe there's a lot of violence in the community. Maybe there's meth in the community, like Pinyan has had that problem. Yeah, okay. So the whole community has had problems. There was a time that you didn't drive out of Pinyan to Chinle at night because you might get stopped by gunmen who, I don't know what was going on. I don't
What?
know. I don't know. I was talking to a cop. He was telling me about what was going on in Pinyan. So you couldn't drive through there at select times, especially on Saturday and Sunday. Demands related to school, to church involvement, to volunteer activities. These are all pieces of information that we need in order to understand what's going on with our clients. If the practitioner is genuine, clients feel more comfortable exploring. Being stiff, distracted, or detached does not indicate genuineness. This is what we're looking for. We need to be as genuine as we possibly can. We need to be as open as we possibly can be. My son decided that he wanted to be an actor. He's pretty. He's a pretty young man, so he went out to California to become an actor. And he went to acting school and all kinds of strange things. And of course, actors don't work as actors in the beginning. They work as waitresses and waiters and bartenders, and my son became a bartender. He's from Nebraska. He was actually born in Indiana. He's a Midwesterner. He's open, he's genuine. And this is what they hated about him as an actor. And this is what they loved about him as a bartender, because people could talk to him. So he was genuine, and he got huge tips. For one thing, he's really quick with his hands, so he mixed drinks really fast, and he was really good at it. And he would get really big tips. But part of the reason that they were tipping him was because he was such a friendly guy. He's such an open, friendly individual. He always looked people in the eye, and this is California. California, everybody is trying to steal money from you, as fun as that
Whoa,
is.
whoa, whoa.
Except for people in San Diego. I'm talking about people in Los Angeles here, Hollywood too. So he
Yeah,
was,
they steal, I mean, they
Yeah.
stole my chargers.
there you go. There's a card.
Dang.
Now, people from San Diego, of course, are very genuine people. However,
We'll tell that guy.
genuineness, good, now I can, really, it's all people. Scott's a good guy. Genuineness is indicated by being natural, by being sincere, by being authentic, by being candid, by being honest, and by being forthright. Sounds like the President of the United States, doesn't it? I'm kidding. He's attacking people this weekend. A lot of fun. Looks like we're gonna have a lot more fun with impeachment going on. And that's the end of chapter 9. Sorry, I'll try not to talk politics anymore. Except to Earl's. And he agrees with me. Is this working? Is it working? Yeah, we're good. Okay. There we go. So we need to be genuine, okay? We need to get at this person's story. And how do we get their story? We get their story by listening to them. And why are they telling us their story? They're telling us their story because we are being genuine. And they want to give us their story. They need to get this story out. It's painful for them to tell us this information. This book is really kind of interesting because it's like it's cathartic for her. She talks about, she wants to go to Mars. Why does she want to go to Mars? She wants to go to Mars to be alone. Oh, wait a minute, she's going to be in a colony is the idea if you go to Mars. But then this whole story comes out about her father killing himself, about her seducing her brother, who's not really her brother. And her brother is madly in love with her because he was 14 and he was in love with her.
What are you talking about?
The story, this book that I read.
Oh.
Anyway,
Sorry, I got lost.
That's okay.
I took an exit somewhere.
it's a book. You weren't here when I first started talking about the book. It's about incest. Except it's not about incest because they weren't really related to each other, the two people that had sex. Okay.
I thought you were talking about the Demi Moore book.
Oh, Demi Moore's book. Demi Moore.
I thought you were talking about that new Brad Pitt movie that was out.
Oh, that.
Ad Astra or something?
Ad Astra.
Ad Astra.
Ad Astra. Now the
I
interesting.
don't remember that part.
There's something in that we're doing at this school called Ad Astra. I know, this is kind of spooky, so I don't know what's happening. It has something to do with IT. Developing deeper understanding. In ordinary conversation, people often communicate in verbal shorthand, only discussing topics in a superficial way. So if you're out at the coffee shop, the Warrior Cafe, and you're talking to somebody, probably you're not going to get into a very deep conversation about their feelings and about their desires. We rarely ask for more information when people talk to us. This gets me into trouble because I'm trying to get people's story, and this is really kind of a sad situation for me because people talk to me a lot, and when they do, I try to get as much of their story as I possibly can. It's a conditioned process. I can't help myself. I just keep asking questions for more information. I need more information. I need to figure out who you are. We assume that people use words the same way that we do, but that's not always true. I was talking to an individual the other day who grew up in a Hispanic community, and so he's Navajo, but his nomenclature is Hispanic. So he was using words a lot differently, and he's having problems on this on this campus because he talks like, or the words that he uses aren't from Chinle or from Pinyan or Kienta, they're Hispanic. So people don't understand what he's talking about, even though they're the same words. Sometimes his words are different.
That reminds me of Tyler Perry over the weekend. He started his own studio, 300 and something acres for actors out of Georgia that want to be actors and actresses. And he was talking about like how he did that for that community because the black community, just like you're saying, they have their own way of talking, their own lingo and stuff. So he was just like, I feel like this is a step towards, helping those people tell their stories.
That's fascinating, because that's true. If you go to my hometown in Muncie, Indiana, well, Muncie's not actually my hometown. I'm from Daleville, okay. It's right down the road. Anyway, they speak differently than people from Indianapolis. I mean, this is a point of fact. I would imagine people from Kienta and people from Pinyan and people from Chinle don't talk the same. Or people from Crown Point, or people from Window Rock.
Expressions, I think, could change a little bit, like
Yeah.
Pinyon, you get more of a, you hear that almost.
What?
Pinyon.
Have you been talking to him?
You won't hear that from people from Shiprock or from Tuba, or you'll only hear that in Pinyon. And then like, if you go down the road, people's gestures, when they make humor, will change from tribe to tribe too, a little bit, like, Zuni's will say la. Apaches who were linguistically related to, but whether they say kiye, it changes even though we're all related, but even in the res you have a slight change in.
Even the northern tribes
Yeah, there are a few subtleties, you'll notice it sometimes.
That reminds me of the Salish. I always say jokes.
Jokes?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, that's a Montana thing.
Yeah.
All the
When
Indians.
they say like I joke, or they say jokes or something like that.
Right.
Like they say it real fast and subtle. It's like when they're messing you around, like you have to like listen for it. Like
Yeah, they're just telling you, they're just trying to
Yeah,
tease you or
yeah.
something, then they'll say jokes.
Yeah.
Real fast.
I don't really understand it.
Jokes.
Well, I don't know, I grew up in San Diego.
In San Diego, so
But
that's,
like, Northern California and Southern California, all different.
you guys talk a lot faster than Northern Californians.
Well, not just that, but I mean, it's a lot of less to do with like the gang thing, but
Right.
like their haircuts, right? Like they'll shave their whole head and they'll leave a little bit right here.
Oh, really?
Like right here.
What, up north?
Yeah. The norteños,
Ah.
you know? It's just weird. The music's different, everything.
Well, Los Angeles and San Francisco, of course it's different. You're right, you're absolutely correct. I noticed that when I was in California. Half the time I couldn't understand what people were saying because they talk so fast. In Los Angeles, Northridge, Riverside, yeah, we were in both places, March Air Force Base.
Yeah.
My wife was stationed at Rand Corporation, Santa Monica. Ugh.
That's a very nice neighborhood.
That's right, just talk too fast. And sometimes you think they're talking so fast because they don't want you to understand what they're saying. I'm gonna sell you a car, I'm gonna charge you $20,000 extra, that's what they're telling you.
We do that in the South too, like Alabama,
In
Georgia.
Alabama, they talk really slow.
I don't know, Louisiana, they talk pretty fast.
In New Orleans, they do.
Yeah.
I had a friend from, he was my NCOIC. He was from Lake Pontchartrain, which is just north of New Orleans. He talks so slow. It would take him forever to tell you what he wanted. And of course, by that time, you'd already figured it out, and you'd already gotten the job done. He just drove me nuts. It is important for practitioners to listen for gaps in information. We're listening for something that they're not telling us. Now, wait a minute, how does this work? We're hearing things that don't exist. You're looking for gaps in information. Notice points and words that are not clear. Ask about how conclusions are reached. A lot of times they will skip that part. So that's what we're trying to find out. We're trying to find out good information, but we need complete information. A lot of times they'll leave out the part where, oh, I had sex with my brother. Oh, you left that part out. Yeah, and so my parents got angry with me. But they left out the part about I had sex with my brother.
Yeah, kind of a big part.
Oh, excuse me. All incest thing. Okay, so they're leaving out pieces of information. Then I stabbed my dad and my mom got mad at me. But they leave out the part about, oh, I stabbed my dad. Then my mom got mad at me. Wait a minute, you left something out. Oh yeah, the part about where I stabbed my dad. Whoops. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for gaps in information. All of a sudden, somebody gets angry. Wait a minute, how did that happen? So that's what we need to find out. Okay. Looking for deeper understanding. I understand that you are feeling depressed. What is depression like for you? Remember, depression looks differently than sadness. So how does it feel? What does it look like? Has anybody in here ever been depressed?
It's scary.
It is scary. When I take ibuprofen, I get depressed. I get so depressed, I feel like killing myself. I mean, it's that bad. Ibuprofen. It's a medication. I can take a medication and make myself depressed. But it feels like a gray wall, a cold gray wall I can't get over. I feel like I'm crawling on the ground. I have no energy. That's what depression felt like to me when I took ibuprofen. So I don't take ibuprofen anymore. You want me to take some tonight so that, see what I act like tomorrow?
I get like that once a year.
Once a year.
It's my son's birthday. I haven't seen him in 4 years.
That made me depressed. Now I'm depressed.
He just turned 9.
That's a great age.
He's in Texas.
This weekend I'm going home to see my friends.
I saw him, actually, I think it was Christmas 2014, or 2015, when the last one was going.
Is he in San Diego?
Texas.
Texas.
Is his mom from Texas?
Yeah.
Oh.
She's from
I saw
Del
that.
Rio.
Just kidding.
Really? There's an Air Force base in Del Rio, or there used to be.
Well, she lives in Harker Heights now, which is right outside of Fort Hood. Like, I was married when I was with First Cav, and Fourth ID's at their headquarters over there.
Oh, that's how you met her out that way?
Yeah.
These military marriages, I'm not sure these are good
Well,
ideas.
we were married for 5 years.
That's a
But
long
I
time.
was never there, because either deployment, or training, or ANOC, or BNOC, or whatever.
I was saying, that's a long marriage.
Training, infantry, that's pretty long. That's like,
That's
that's
longer
like
than
20
average.
years regular time.
That's a re-enlistment.
Yeah, so,
The interesting thing is that if we look at all the divorces that people have had and we average them all out, guess how long people were married?
but
4.5 years. 4.5 years is the average. So you were married for 5 years. My first marriage, I was married for 4 years and 11 months. So right there on the average.
When I was in the 2nd Ranger Battalion, half my company was divorced. I think out of like 250 guys, there was probably
well,
10 that were
lead the
married.
way, maybe it's a divorce. You know?
Like out of about 250 people in my company, 10 were married.
Wow.
And I think it was only the first sergeant, the CO, and the XO that were still together. Everybody
Really?
else that was still married was separated, but not divorced yet, and everybody else was separated or divorced. And the other half of the company was just waiting their turn.
Were you
Never
Charlie?
marry a
Were
military.
you and
guy.
Charlie?
I was in Bravo.
Bravo?
Yeah.
I heard Charlie has a crush like that. Charlie Company, because you were in 75 Deuce, right?
Yeah.
And I heard Charlie Company got a crush like that.
Okay. We're talking military today. You've been divorced?
No.
No, not yet.
Never married. married.
You never been married? Oh, way to go.
Keep it going,
With
bro.
all those girls?
I was
Just kidding.
Yes. Not in the US, just say that, not in the US. I'm only counting in the US. People ask me how many kids I have, I'm only counting the US. I only count, I'll put it to you this way, I give the same answer I give to IRS.
Yes, we're spies for the IRS.
I give my IRS answer. If a girl's cute, I give her my W-2 answer.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I hear you are concerned about your children's behavior. Can you give me some examples of how bad your kids are? I noticed that several people in the group are looking at the floor. Will one of you share what you are feeling? We're looking for a deeper understanding. When behaviors, feelings, experiences, and the nature of the problem, challenge, or situations are clear, then changes can be more easily made. The meaning of words and body language can be explored. The basis of conclusions can be enlightening. Using questions to expand and clarify is important in family and group situations. So we're looking for feelings, experiences, the nature of a problem, the challenges that they've seen, situations that they've had, and we're trying to clarify those. You said I corrected that. You said your mom doesn't like you. Will you tell me what makes you think that? Why your mom doesn't like you?
Because she says she don't like me.
She's a teenager. That's why. Oops, I'm sorry. I know it's a bad picture. I don't think others care about finishing what we started. Will you tell me what is happening that makes you think that? I know my husband doesn't love me. Will you give me some examples of his behavior that leads you to that feeling that your husband doesn't like you? It's a question I'll ask my wife this weekend, why she doesn't like me anymore. It's not even going to be there on my birthday. That is tragic. Client must be willing to explore more deeply. A client must feel comfortable and safe. It can be useful for the practitioner to ask about the client's hesitancy to share, but the practitioner should not push clients to share. Gaining further information may help in establishing a trusting relationship. If it seems like you're digging, it ain't gonna work. They're just gonna push back. The more you push, the more they will push back. It's kind of like people with borderline personality disorder. The more you push them, the harder they push back. So you gotta get in a comfortable place with your clients, okay? Everybody's gotta be comfortable. They have to feel comfortable, you have to be genuine. And that's how you get their information, that's how you get their story. What was happening yesterday? 60 Minutes was on yesterday. Murder, this guy had murdered 93 people or something. Serial killer. He's able to get away with it because he would murder women and then he would leave, he'd take off. He was a drifter, and he got his kicks from killing people, strangling people. So the people that he killed, he only killed select individuals. He was very selective about who he murdered. He only murdered women that were on the fringes of society. Homeless women, prostitutes, people that nobody cared about. He traveled all over the country, killing people. He did this for 50 years. He's from Ohio. And nobody caught him. And eventually he did. He got caught in San Diego, as a matter of fact. He killed 3 women and strangled 3 women. Of course, by this time, he's in his 70s. He's in his late 60s. And they caught him in San Diego. He strangled 3 women. They caught him.
Wasn't it like Poway or something?
I'm sorry?
Poway?
Yeah.
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 I heard about that.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was on 60 Minutes last night. So this Texas Ranger was looking for information. He thought, the guy said something about Odessa. And there was a cold case from the 1970s that had never been solved. And he knew that he had been there in the 1970s. And he knew that this guy that he strangled women. That's how he killed them. That's how he got his jollies, from them struggling and struggling and then not moving anymore. That's what he enjoyed about the murder. And of course, he talked about it last night on 60 Minutes. But the Texas Ranger went out to California to get him, to see if he could get him to confess to other murders. And of course, he was very belligerent. Oh, you cops are always trying to pin stuff on me. They've got me for 3 murders, isn't that enough? That kind of thing. And then he said, well, how does it make you feel when you kill somebody? Everybody else had called him a serial rapist, and he didn't like that, because he didn't rape the women, he just killed them. There was no sex involved, it was just murder. And so he said, well, you're a killer. And when he called him a killer instead of a rapist,
Fed his ego?
it fed his ego. And the guy just started talking about how he felt when he murdered the women.
You ever watch that show Criminal Minds?
I don't,
I
my
love
wife
that
watches
show.
it.
That reminds me
It
of that.
scares the crap out of her. She gets so scared when she watches that show.
I love that show.
And then she can't sleep. And then she blames me like I have anything to do with Criminal Minds. Yeah, I know, I'm a villain. Evidently I'm a villain. Just remember, I'm the villain in this situation.
When I was small, we used to watch that with my grandpa, or I used to watch that with my grandpa.
Did it scare you? It scares my
It
mom.
interests me. I always wanted to be crazy again.
The one who's always on the computer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how she talks to the other guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Well, that's the lady with all the funny makeup
Glasses,
on?
yeah.
Okay, the
Yeah,
glasses.
glasses.
What show is this?
Criminal Minds.
It's on Netflix. It's
You gotta
like
watch it.
It's like episodes.
I can't watch it. If I turn on Law and Order SUV,
Oh, I like
I
that
love
one
it.
too.
I'm not turning it off until they change the show.
Oh, is that right?
I'll stay on there all day.
I like
So it's a marathon.
investigation Discovery too. Like all those, yeah.
So why does it scare your wife? Like, what is she afraid of?
The murders.
Okay, my wife is military, and her dad was military. So they were stationed in a lot of strange places, like Germany, right after World War II. Germany and Montgomery, Alabama. And the Air Force Base in Montgomery is an old prison. And there were stories, and of course, she's just a kid, she's just a little kid. So there's stories about ghosts walking around the prison. And of course, they're in a prison cell. I mean, it's a whole section. They've revamped it, but it's still, the prison cell. So that's a part that spooked her the most. And she grew up protected, very, very much protected. And of course, when she was in the military, she was in charge. So she had all these people that were at her beck and call. And so if she ever got scared about something, she just ordered somebody to stand guard or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, she's, now that she's a civilian, she gets spooked very easily about that kind of stuff because of the way she grew up. In Germany, right after World War II, there were a lot of Germans wandering around, hated Americans.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they were stealing kids and murdering them and all kinds of horrible stuff.
I heard there's like around 50 serial killers operating in the US. Sometime one of my friends was reading a book about serial killers, and he
Is
said
that right?
the FBI was tracking 50 different serial killers in the US.
Yeah, we got a problem, and part of it has to do with profiling. We think that this is the formula that always works, but sometimes, of course, they go off formula. Obviously, this guy murdered 93 women, and the only reason that he was caught was because he was so old and he was infirm, he couldn't get away. He's in a wheelchair now at 73, and he couldn't get away. But he kept killing, and they never caught him. I mean, they actually caught him when he couldn't run away anymore. But of course, he didn't admit to all those murders until that Texas Ranger fed his ego, and he started talking about all the women that he had murdered. He's making he's an artist, and he's making drawings of all these women that he murdered. And he writes little notes at the bottom, you know, she loved me, but that was the biggest mistake she ever made.
There was, I think it was on Forensic Files too, there was this guy, he murdered a lot of women, like back in the 1950s or
Mhm.
something. And then you know how like back then, like you couldn't really investigate all those things until like recently, I think it was like in 2007, they found all those women that he murdered, and then here they identified them. And then they found his DNA, and they found him when he was like 82.
There you go.
He
Well,
got-
at least we solved the cases.
Yeah, and then here they said that he got life in prison, but he died a year later.
Oh my god.
I'm just kidding.
As tragic as that is. But at least he spent a year in prison, right?
Yeah, just a year, just kidding.
All right.
The guy in Vancouver, in Canada, he over 150, they said possibly up to 200. He didn't know how many he had killed. He stopped counting after a while. It was over 150 that they identified bodies on his property.
Wow, that's a lot of graves.
Did you guys?
It's obviously not now. If he buried all of his dead
Oh,
bodies on
he
his
fed him to
own.
his pigs.
Fed him to the pigs.
Yeah, he was a pig farmer.
Isn't that weird? Pigs do like human flesh.
Yeah.
I know, isn't that weird? But then again, we eat pork,
We
don't
like
we?
pig, baby.
Yeah.
That's just kidding.
Okay. Gaining further information may help in establishing a trusting relationship, and of course, that's what we're trying to do. We need as much information as we possibly can get. And we will start counseling at the end of this month, so try to get if you haven't already turned in your stuff, go ahead and turn it in. I've been thinking about this lately. Shh. Silence may be useful in encouraging clients to explore further. Silence is a good thing. You guys are okay with silence. People from New York, people from the East Coast, people from Los Angeles, they try to fill any silence with noise. They can't stand it. It drives them crazy. But you guys are okay with this. So it's okay when somebody's not talking, when you're just looking at somebody. It's okay. See, I had to say it's okay. I couldn't be any more silent. I was silent for what, 15 seconds? Silence allows time for processing. Feelings may be experienced more deeply during silent periods. The more intense the feelings, the more silent time may be needed to experience them. People may have to get used to the idea of disclosing a piece of information. And it may take a couple of minutes before that happens. So you have to allow them to be silent. Some people need more silent time to process their thoughts and feelings, and that's okay. I went on a Fulbright trip to South America, Central and South America, and it had to do with American Indians. It's when I was living up at I was teaching at Fort Belknap. The guy that taught Native American Studies at Billings. Wait a minute, what is that? That's Montana State Billings, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Montana State University Billings. The guy that teaches Native American Studies up there is not native. He's a New Yorker. He's a Jewish New York guy. And he did his research here on this reservation. So he came down here to do his research, and of course he's from New York. So he talks really fast, and he doesn't like silence. So he's talking to an elder, one of your elders, and of course, every time he asked a question, he expected an answer. And sometimes the guy would just sit there. And Jeff had a real serious problem not interrupting. this man while he was sitting there. And finally Jeff said, "Why does it take you so long to answer my questions?" And he said, "Jeff, your questions are so interesting, I have to think about them for a long time before I can answer them." And before that, of course, Jeff's, he's asking the question, he's not getting an answer, so he's just filling the air with noise. And finally he asked the guy, and the guy told him, "Shut up, Jeff, so I can think." Hey, actually, that's not what he said. He said, your questions are so interesting. And after that, Jeff was a lot better at not interrupting the thought processes of the elders that he was dealing with. But he's from New York, and in New York, there's no silence. There's no silence ever. But he learned silence from a Navajo elder. Are you okay?
But,
I was about allergies that are kind of bugging me.
Well, I'm sorry.
oh, if you say that there's no silence, then what if people there, like, are thinking about what he asked to, does he interrupt those ways too?
You mean in New York?
Yeah.
Well, they don't think, they just talk. It's one of the reasons why when they ask Trump questions, sometimes he gives really strange answers, like he admits that he did something. And that's what happened the other day. They were asking him about getting the Ukrainians to collaborate with him, trying to get to attack his political opponents. And he said, "Yeah, well, the Bidens are corrupt, and I think that the Chinese should investigate the Bidens as well." Which is something he probably shouldn't have said. New Yorkers will just talk, and sometimes they blurt out the wrong thing, and that's what happened with Trump. Keeps happening with Trump as well.
I have an uncle who's kind of weird. He'll tell you something, and then he'll just stare at you and wait for your reaction. And sometimes he'll just start laughing. He'll just stare at you laughing. I don't know what you want me to say. I learned to just laugh back at him. And then he thinks I agree with him. I have no idea what he's talking about half the time.
See, that's what they're trying to get Trump to do, to think before he talks, but he won't. They can't quiet him down. I know, he's gonna get.
Where is
himself-
Trump from?
He's from New York. He's from New York City, yeah. Sometimes he acts like a mafioso or something. The other day at a news conference, this guy asked him a question. He said, "You talking to me? You talking to me?" Like taxi driver, like the movie, Al Pacino, the movie. What a goofball. He needs to be careful. He's going to get himself impeached if he's not careful.
Oh, I think it's gonna happen anyways.
That's probably going to happen anyway, probably. Some people need quiet time to think. Silence should be used purposefully. Observe your client's reaction to silence. Some may feel rejected, some may feel just feel uncomfortable, especially people from New York City or from the West Coast. Not Scott, of course, he's from San Diego, which is almost Mexico, so we're okay.
You can walk across the border from San Ysidro.
San
Walk
Ysidro,
across the
exactly.
border.
Man, it just made me think of tacos now.
Yeah.
That's the best place to eat
Good
tacos.
ass tacos.
San Ysidro?
Little tacos thing.
I had just gotten to, where was I? Riverside, just gotten to Riverside, California.
That's a little Mexico too, by Moreno Valley.
Yeah, it's Moreno Valley, exactly.
Yeah.
And that day was the shooting at the McDonald's in San Ysidro, where the guy killed, I don't know, 11, 12 people, and then they finally shot him. But that was the day I got to California.
Welcome to California.
Yeah. I had never been there before. And all of a sudden, somebody shoots 11 people at a McDonald's. I did not go to McDonald's while I was in California.
Why?
It's too dangerous.
It is, man, I don't know what they put in their meat.
Each situation and each client needs to be thoughtfully considered. So you need to watch them while they are not talking. Are they uncomfortable with the silence? How are they reacting to the silence, to the fact that you're not talking? Be careful, you need to have a facial expression that doesn't show uncomfortableness with the silence. You need to show them that it's okay to be silent, okay? To develop deeper understanding of clients besides focusing on their challenges, you need to focus on their strengths, their resources, their positive factors. You need to make them feel like they can handle the situation. So you need to show them that they have handled this in the past, that they are resilient, that they have strengths, that they have resources out there, that potentially they have shown positive factors in the past. And these are what you need to show them. No matter how wimpy you think they are, you need to focus on their strengths. That's a really cool cape you've got. You must be a superhero. I was going through this lecture last night, and then when I went to sleep last night, I dreamed that I forgot my Halloween costume, and I put on a cape, and I was walking around with a cape on. So, I know. It was a red cape, by the way. I have a red cape at home. That was my Halloween costume. I will dress up for Halloween. I always dress up for Halloween.
In class?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Did
yeah.
you do that for extra credit?
No. Andrea and I are the only two that ever dress up for Halloween, so that should be interesting. She's the one that's running the Warrior Cafe. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to identify their strengths. Many clients may want their challenges to be understood before they move on to their strengths, but you need to at least be cataloging their strengths, their positive factors, the entire time that you're dealing with them. You're trying to make them feel like they can handle things, and the only way you can do that is to show them that they have strengths, that they have resilience. This is what I was trying to do when I was doing my resilience research dealing with suicide. I was trying to show resilience. I wanted the kids to understand that they had strengths.
What do you mean by cataloging their strengths?
When they're telling you their story, writing down or remembering the fact that they dealt with their grandfather's death very well, that when their kids had a problem, that they handled it really well. These are their strengths. So just remembering all the positive things that they've been able to do in their lives. By focusing on the client's strengths, resources, and other positive factors, the practitioner can help clients feel hopeful, positive, and more able to cope. Highlighting what clients have already achieved shows that the practitioner understands and supports the efforts that they have made. So we need to notice that they have done positive things in the past. And if you can do that, then possibly you can convince them that they can handle this right now. They're going to be able to handle this problem as well. What do you do well? I have no idea why I put Gandalf there, but he's a picture of Gandalf. What do you do well? What does Gandalf do well? What are some of his strengths? Those of you who have watched the movie or read the books, Gandalf's strengths?
You grow a beard?
He did a really good job with his beard, yeah. Gandalf the Grey, that's what they call him. Then he was Gandalf the White. What were his strengths?
He listens really well.
He listens really well, there you go.
Wasn't he kind of like the leader of the whole thing, their little pack or whatever?
With the fellowship, yeah. He was the leader, but then remember he got pulled into the
Yeah.
depths by the Balrog.
Yeah. I don't, well, whatever that thing was.
It was a Balrog.
Okay, I was forced to watch all 3 movies, so I don't know.
Everybody knows it was the Balrog. This is all really important, okay?
You said the sword people.
What do you like about yourself?
Oh,
No, that's a good question to ask. A lot of people don't like themselves very much. And there's no reason for them to hate themselves, to dislike themselves. Now, why in the world would somebody not like themselves?
low self-esteem.
Why?
Because the stuff
Where'd it come from?
Bullying?
they've done.
Bullying?
Halvo would say they were conditioned.
Yeah.
Okay,
By
so.
a parent.
By your parents. Your Parents haven't given you positive feedback. They haven't said nice things about you. They haven't told you how smart you are. They haven't told you how pretty you are. They haven't told you how tall you are. They haven't told you.
I'm like going back to my childhood and finding out what went wrong to lead to this now.
There you go, of course. Well, that's important. We need to go back in our childhood and figure out what's wrong. So that when we're dealing with this, it's not going to upset us when somebody else has the same problem that we have. Oh, it's 11:50, we need to stop right now. So this is something that I want you to do. I want you to think about all the horrible things about yourself. Write them all down. No, I'm just kidding.